Murder.
Chalk outlines.
DNA tests.
Blood.
Anonymous tip.
Beheadings and disembowelments.
Fingerprints.
The yellow tape that they have on crime scenes.
Witness statements.
Stakeouts with my cop friend and we drink coffee. UV lights that they can see on 5 minutes.
This is exciting. We are about to get a true crime story in about 5 minutes.
Before we start the clock, can I have like a little moment? Because I don't know how I'm going to do this in 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
can I just like have a little preface here?
That's not how the podcast works.
Yeah, but
It's not called
No, because
in 15 minutes or thereabouts. It's in 5 minutes.
no, because I'll do the 5 minutes for the story, but I'll give you like why I'm doing it and what it is before.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so have you guys don't bend?
It's 5 minutes, man.
Far
Let's go.
All right, have you guys seen Changeling, the 2008 film with
Very good.
Angelina Jolie? Have
no,
you seen it, Ben?
I haven't.
Put it on your
Really?
list. It's a good one.
Okay,
Oh, it's
Changeling.
fantastic. So I've seen it years ago and then I rewatched it just recently and I just thought, you know what, I need to dig into this story and the real, because it is based on a true story. It happened in the 1920s over in California and I've now listened to like 4 different podcasts on it. I've researched it. It's incredible, the true story that happened. In the movie, there's 2 big like crimes happening alongside each other, adjacent, but they really skim over like the murders. They focus more on Christine Collins, played by Angelina Jolie, and her son going missing, and then her getting this boy that's not her son returned to her. So I'm going to try and like talk through her story, but also the murders at the same time. Now, highly recommend watching the movie, but then also do some research on these murders. They're called the Wineville murders, and so it all started, like I said, 1920s. We have a guy called Gordon Stewart Northcott. He was living out on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
I know you're strapped for time, but can I just preface this by like saying, why do they always have hyphenated names, the serial killers?
It's true,
Do you know what I
actually.
mean? It's always like it's longer than it needs to be.
That's true. Well, he went by his middle name, Stewart. So
Right.
I can just call him Stewart if
Okay,
we want.
Stewie.
Well, no, because that's friendly and he's a heinous murderer. But yeah, Stewart, he lived out on this farm in the middle of nowhere. He lived out there. He was a bit of a weirdo. He was only 19 years old. He was running this big chicken farm and he got his nephew, his sister's son, who was only 11, to come and help him on this farm. Now, horribly, he did abuse this child. He got this child to work all day. He gave him no food. He just absolutely used him. Then his mum, so Stuart's mum, so his nephew's grandma, came and lived with them as well on this farm. And Stuart was such a bad guy that he started bringing boys off the streets, bringing them to the farm, and started locking them up in the chicken coops, started abusing them, and then murdering them.
Whoa.
He then got found out by his mum, who was living there, and she said, well, I love you so much, you could never do any wrong in my eyes. I'll help you kill these boys.
What?
So she then started helping him kill these boys. They also got Stanford, the nephew, 11-year-old, to come and help and kill these boys as well. They killed up to almost 20 boys on that farm. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the detail of all of them, but it was horrific. Like what he did to these boys and up until their death was awful. Now, so you've got 3 generations of this family doing this, which is just like, that is just unthinkable to have your mum go, you know what, don't worry, son, I love you, I'll come and help you. So one of these boys became very famous. His name was Walter Collins. Walter Collins was 9 years old. Now, Walter is the centerpiece of the movie Changeling. He is the boy that goes missing. He's one of the boys that was killed on this farm. He goes missing. His mother, Christine Collins, played by Angelina Jolie, she freaks out. Obviously, her son, he's gone missing after she just left him at home, said, go to the movies, I've got to go to work. Gave him some money. He went to the movies. He never came home. She freaks out. They start looking for Walter. He's missing for a fair few months. And at this point in California, the police department were very corrupt. They were getting a lot of hate from California residents saying you're not doing your jobs properly, you're incompetent. So they're freaking out. They can't find this boy. Everyone's giving them crap. What do? They just bring another boy in and say, here you go, this
It's
is your
the
son.
kid.
It's your son. It's Walter. She says straight up, it's not my son. And this is all played out in the film. She says, that's not my son. That's not my son. I know my son. I'm the mother. They say, nah, just smile for the cameras. This is your son, Walter. And they even say to the kid, like, this, you're Walter. This kid, they just got off the streets. He was a runaway. And
How
he
old's
went,
the kid?
yeah. He was about 10.
He's about 10.
And he goes, yeah, I'm Walter. Yeah, sweet. Awesome. I'll go with this woman. So they give her this boy. Now, this poor boy as well, he's off the street. So she
Yeah.
goes, you know what? I'll just take him in. But she still fights for her right to have Walter, her real son, found. That goes on for weeks and weeks, to the point that, like, I was watching the film and I was like, well, wouldn't you just get people that know the kid to stand up for you? And she does. She goes to the teachers at the school. She goes to his dentist. She gets parents from around the neighborhood. She gets all these people from Walter's life to testify that it's not Walter. She goes to the police department and they say, well, you're crazy. Clearly that's your son. You've gotten all these people to do this for you. You've lost your mind. So, damn it. So they put her into a psychiatric ward. And we all know in the 20s how horrific those places were.
Spoilers. I wanted to watch the movie.
Still watch it. She's put in there for a week. That's awful in itself. And when she's in the psych ward, that's when Stanford, the little kid on the farm who's being abused and helping with these murders, comes forward to the police and he says, we've been killing boys. Please help me. I need to escape. Please help find these bodies.
Crazy.
So then they do the matchup. He sees a photo of Walter and says, that was one of the
Isn't
boys. And then she's let out. He was then hung. It's a whole thing, and I can't get into it in 5 minutes. It's there's so much to it. But
Well, you didn't do it in time and you spoiled the movie for me.
Ben's upset. No, we've told Belle, I just find it so crazy that in the 1920s, if someone was being a nuisance, you're like, yeah, you're crazy, you lost your mind. And then they say,
Yeah.
I'm not. And then that makes you sound crazier. And they just put, like, wouldn't that be the scariest thing?
it's awful. And the thing is, so it was called a Code 12 is what she was put under. And a Code 12 in the 20s, when someone was put in a psych ward, was for being a disruption and an annoyance.
Wow.
So if you even like did anything that was deemed annoying, you're put in under a Code 12. It's awful.
Hey, that might still happen.
What do you mean?
Julian Assange.
Oh, okay. All right.
They thought he was pretty annoying.
And now for Ben's spin-off podcast.
See you, podcaster.